Good afternoon. We are doing it live right here. Let's do some business. We're doing it live, doing more at 4 weekday afternoons. We get right down to business with the news-driven hour right after Ben Shapiro. And right before, 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang at 5, Mottek On Money, live on the air right here on 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com. And your on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com, Apple, iTunes, and all your favorite podcast platforms. Well, the major stock market averages starting the new week mixed. NVIDIA entering correction territory as the Magnificent One sell-off continued. The Dow coming in for a closing gain today of 261 points, posting a 5-day winning streak for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The S&P 500 closing down 17, and the NASDAQ pulling back 193 points. AI darling NVIDIA slide, raising concerns about whether the tech rally will continue. NVIDIA stock down nearly 7% today, closing at 118.11 cents. This after the 10-for-1 stock split we saw about a week ago. The stock officially entering a correction, which is defined as a drop of at least 10% from its most recent high. The AI stock was down to 3 consecutive days, and we saw a nearly 13% drop over those 3 days, marking the worst 3-day stretch for the stock since the 3 days ending in December of 2022. NVIDIA stock closed at an all-time high of $135.58 less than a week ago, which was enough to grant the company status as the largest in the United States by market cap for one day. Of course, we had that 10-for-1 stock split recently for NVIDIA. This past week, we did see all the major averages eke out gains, with the Dow rising 1.5% last week, coming back to life after lagging behind both the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. Investors did pour more money into tech funds, in fact, at a record pace over the past week, with NVIDIA leading the charge. We see Affirm holding shares rocketing today, enough to post their best daily performance since last year. That's the buy now, pay later name that was up nearly 13%, and that made for its largest single-day percentage gain since December of last year, when it popped nearly 16%. Oil back in the spotlight with, of course, nervousness in the Middle East once again, and signs of energy demand as prices continue to rebound from an early June slump. We see oil in New York rising by nearly $1 today to 81.63. Brent crude in London, the global benchmark, adding nearly 77 cents to finish at 86.01 a barrel. Coming up, we will take a look at what's happening on the commercial real estate scene. A big for sale sign going up at the so-called Graffiti Towers in the heart of downtown Los Angeles. The unfinished and bankrupt ocean-wide Plaza Tower complex in downtown L.A., right across from Crypto.com Arena, now set for an auction sale later this year. And a landmark property in Hollywood also going up for sale. We'll get a comprehensive update on commercial real estate from Jerry Sullivan, National Managing Editor of The Real Deal, former editor of the LA Business Journal and OC Business Journal. He'll be joining me live later this hour. On crime, we'll be on the line later this hour with Dennis Zine. But first, on the markets and the economy, Crypto 2, the whole works. Joining us live now is the one and only John Najarian, co-founder of Market Rebellion, longtime financial commentator on the major networks, and a great longtime contributor on this program. John Najarian, thank you very much for coming to the line here this afternoon.
Love being on with you, Frank. You just can't get rid of me. Nice to be back.
Fantastic. We always appreciate every time you're on here, John, and I love what you're doing on social media, by the way, with your brother. And, of course, you're the options expert, too, and we want to talk about your new book. So let's do it all here. Take it from the top. And, first of all, NVIDIA, the Magnificent One, taking a hit today.
Yeah, and, I think many people have been betting against the stock for a long time. I am not one of them. I've been a true believer. And I do love the way that the CEO and founder has managed expectations and then exceeded those expectations. So that's a pretty popular thing for any CEO, to be able to manage and then exceed those expectations. I think the fact that it's making a little correction here, even though it's painful for somebody who bought in at the top, if anybody has been on this ride for more than just the last 10 days, it's because that's about what we plumbed down to, I think it was the June 8th low or something like that. But I did love what you were saying about Affirm, AFRM, that buy now, pay later stock. because, Frank, I think that one still has lots of room. The reason I think that is that Apple, which adopted their technology and them as a vendor on their platform, folded up their own buy now, pay later scheme. And so that's leaving some pretty fantastic ground for a firm to plow, and I think they will continue to do well. Goldman was very positive on them, and as you said earlier, the stock made just a wonderful move today, going all the way up, closing, I guess, close to $34 a share.
See it tonight, read about it tomorrow, but hear it now on Mottek On Money, live on the air with John Najarian here on Mottek On Money on 790 KABC. And John, of course, you cover Bitcoin quite extensively. You've had the laser eyes on for quite some time. You followed Bitcoin at record highs this year, but now Bitcoin's pulled back to around 60,000 here. Interesting. Of course, NASDAQ had hit a record high recently and has pulled back since. And we've seen the cryptos also take a breather here. Ethereum at around 3,300. And that's been watched very closely and got a pop on the news that we might see Ethereum ETF soon. And give us an update on how you see what's happening in the crypto space here at the moment.
Sure. Well, famously, Mt. Gox is infamous and famous. And infamous because an awful lot of people have had Bitcoin locked up on that particular platform, in particular with investigations and lawsuits and all the rest. But as many of your crypto aficionados that are listening know, Mt. Gox, or at least the people in charge of allocating funds back to the people that left those cryptos on the Mt. Gox exchange, are about to get close to $10 billion worth of Bitcoin back. So in a way, there's a friend of mine, Charlie Shrem, who was unfortunate enough to have been called an unlicensed money exchanger. And for that reason, he had to agree to not sell his Bitcoin for 18 months. And in fact, do community service and actually serve some time in jail. Well, for these people, their crypto has been locked up for 10 years. And now, as they get access to it, perhaps even today, tomorrow, sometime this week, we think, that's one of the things that's pressuring Bitcoin right here, because if indeed $10 billion worth of Bitcoin, people, this not newfound, it's their wealth, but wealth that they've just been watching and hoping to get their hands on again, finally they're able to sell it. Many of them will probably elect to sell it because it's probably in the neighborhood of, 20 or 30 times the level that it was when they basically when Mt. Gox got shut down.
Excellent analysis there, and I've been wondering what's been going on. And people ask me about it. I promise I'm going to ask John Najarian about it. So thanks very much for that excellent explanation here. What about Ethereum, which has pulled well off its recent high here at around 3,300? And what are the prospects here for the possibility of Ethereum ETFs anytime soon?
Well, I do think we'll get those as soon as the SEC basically green-lighted those. The gold rush is on from the same group that listed Bitcoin ETFs. That's virtually everybody in the exchange-traded fund space. And some of them, of course, will garner lion's share of that market, and others probably fall by the wayside over time. But I think it is bullish for both Bitcoin and Ethereum to have these ETFs out there. It's just one more level of demand that can then come into the market from the stock side of the world, rather than the folks that are much more adept at holding on to hardware, software wallets, trading on MetaMasks and things like that. I think this is something that democratizes crypto, if you will, brings it out to the masses. So overall, it's going to be bullish for Ethereum, just as it was bullish for Bitcoin.
All right, what about the metaverse? Is that still a thing? Remember when people were buying real estate in the metaverse and paying a fortune for it? I haven't heard too many stories about that lately.
No, you haven't. Nor have you heard many stories about Apple and electric cars. Both Meta, which is the former Facebook, and Apple have focused much more on AI, artificial intelligence. At least in the case of Meta, it's artificial intelligence. In the case of Apple, it's Apple intelligence. At least that's how they address it. But I think those dollars that were spent on the metaverse, I don't know how many years it'll be before Mr. Zuckerberg's able to recoup the 15 or 20 billion dollars that he flushed into that. But moving quickly back into something as hot and potentially as valuable to he and his advertisers and customers over at Meta, same thing over at Apple, I think was a good move in both cases. I don't think either of them were close to being a first mover in the space, but I think they both saw the future pretty quickly and decided they better get on that train.
You just reminded me, remember the days when Facebook was talking about creating its own currency, and there was nervousness about it sort of at the dawn of the crypto era, and now we've got all these cryptos and altcoins and so forth. And what about these altcoins? What about Doge, for example, down to 12 cents, and Shiba Inu, which had that meteoric rise and was probably one of the greatest trades in world history when somebody converted 8,000 into billions of dollars with Shiba Inu. What are your thoughts about that space?
Well, people love get-rich-quick schemes. You know, they do these same things in gambling, where they do, for instance, like Dave Portnoy did, linking, for instance, the Super Bowl and Scotty Scheffler, the golfer, and doing that kind of parlay bet where you're basically getting much bigger odds, but the chance of you actually collecting on it are quite slim. They ended up working out for Mr. Portnoy, but for a lot of these get-rich-quick schemes, I think it's more or less just the thrill, sort of like when people buy lottery tickets, of what am I going to do with this unfounded or this untold wealth that I'm about to get. And then, of course, the lottery tickets find their way into the trash. And I think that's where most of the meme coins end up as well. But if you're nimble and you get on something early, yes, there can be riches made there, just as you said accurately, Frank, with Shiba Inu or with Doge. But I don't think anybody's been making any money on either of those two over the last 18 months or even 3 years.
Any of those names getting your attention? I remember you did mention in the past specific altcoins. Any of those making any interesting moves or getting any of your attention these days?
Well, there's a new one that's coming on called Parlay, and that I have not bought any, but so full disclosure, I don't own any. But that is a meme coin of sorts that basically lets people create their own meme coins. So in other words, if they have this particular meme coin Parlay, they're able to take and leverage that and use it and its technology to launch their own meme coins. So you can only imagine, Frank, how many more people are going to be out there pumping out meme coins of all sorts. There are some, anything that pops up, as meme implies, anything that pops up in pop culture, on the internet, or on TV shows, or perhaps even a popular athlete can become a meme coin. And I think those are still going to be the same sort of danger, buyer beware. But if you're in early, I think you can make a bunch of money really fast, but you've got to be nimble.
That is very interesting. So how would those be traded? Just in the open market? You call it whatever you want, and then put it out there.
Yep. Obviously the real issue there will be that there will be lots of pump and dumps. Of course, there always have been ever since the first meme coin appeared, but there will also be a fair amount of very sophisticated marketing getting out there to catch people's attention, much like Mr. Musk and other people did with Doge or with Shiba Inu, the two that you've mentioned already. I think you'll see an awful lot of folks willing to hitch their wagon, if you will, to various meme coins if indeed the person, the influencer that's peddling it, has enough cachet with that particular cadre of investors.
Very interesting. On the air live with Jon Najarian. And John, at this point, let me ask you the big question here. Any specific places where you are putting money now and or taking it off the table?
Well, I'm waiting for a little bit more of a dip in both Bitcoin and Coinbase on the digital asset side. Coinbase, of course, they don't mine coins, but what they are is basically a broker. And I think they are one of the safer plays in digital assets because, like I say, they're not a miner. They are instead some place that people that want to convert fiat or U.S. dollars into various currencies and then trade those cryptos go to a site like Coinbase. And I think Mr. Armstrong has done a great job building up that business. They're well off their recent highs, even though the stock is, the Bitcoin is probably 14,000 or so away from its all-time high. But this stock is a considerably bigger percentage away from its all-time high. And I think that, a patient investor could find some great entry points for many of those stocks. But Coinbase would be my pick in the digital asset space.
That's great. And John, you got the option business, of course, going big in your book. And I love what you're doing with that new platform you have on social media. Maybe you can give us an update on what you're doing these days.
Sure. Well, we have Market Rebellion, and thank you for that. Market Rebellion continues to be a subscription and education giant, more or less, in the financial space. And we've just partnered up with Sogo Trade, which is a great brokerage firm that's in 85 countries. And they have stock, options, futures, and cryptocurrencies all on that platform, Sogo Trade. So my brother Pete and I have made a pretty significant investment in that. And our investment grows with our ability to build critical mass of investors, traders, speculators, all of that in that particular space. So we're really looking forward to that, Frank, and I think it'll be a very fun ride through 2024 and into 2025.
All right. As I said at the beginning, let's do more in 24 here, John. So look forward to our next conversation on the air here, hopefully very soon. And congratulations on all those new endeavors. We'll be looking for you. Jon Najarian, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Thank you, Frank. Have a great one. Hello to everybody in L.A. Thank you.
Yes, hope to see you out here again soon. Let's get right out to the freeways now on 790 KBC. Folks, people like you and me have our ear to the ground on all things business. We like to be informed and indeed well prepared. As important as finance is, I want you to have a plan in case you're hit by someone not paying attention to the road. Thinking ahead serves us well, but even still we can get caught off guard as people are so focused on their destination that they might not have a plan if they're in an accident that is not their fault. That's why I encourage you to put my friend attorney Clark Fielding's number in your phone. That number is 833-88-SHARK. So if you're in an accident, you'll be ready with your strategy to make Clark Fielding your very first call. Fielding Law aims for the highest possible settlement, considering you might need long-term care, rehab, compensation for lost wages, and any ongoing physical or emotional pain. So if you're hurt in any kind of accident, call for a free consultation with Fielding Law. You can trust them. They're honest, respected, and your strategy in case you get into that unexpected accident. Motorcycle, truck, pedestrian, scooter, hit and run, boating, or bike accidents, you name it. The number to call, 833-88-SHARK. That's 833-88-SHARK. Or go to clarkthesharklaw.com. Mottek On Money continues here, 790 KBC. Good afternoon. Mixed finish for the stock market to kick off the new week following a winning week last week. The Dow, the star of the show today, up nearly 300 points, up 261 at the close at 39,411. The S&P 500 slipping 7 at 5,448. And the NASDAQ down nearly 200 today, down 193 to be precise, at 17,497. The yield in the 10-year note now at 4.24%. Gold moving higher, up $1.40 at $2,345.80 an ounce. Crude oil up 7 cents at $81.70 a barrel. In the crypto space here, we see a Bitcoin rebounding about $900 now to $60,123. Ethereum up 26 at $3,335, and Doge at the moment at 12 cents. Taking a look at NVIDIA, the magnificent one, not so magnificent today. NVIDIA stock down 6.7% today to 118.11. This is part of a three-day slide that has shaved more than $400 billion off NVIDIA's market cap over those 3 days. NVIDIA finished the latest session with a $2.9 trillion valuation. It, for one day, was the most valuable U.S. company based on the market cap. The shares dropped nearly 13% over the past three trading sessions to record their worst three-day percentage decline since they fell about 14% back in December of 2022. And as mentioned earlier, Firm Holdings is the one I just talked about with John Najarian, skyrocketing today, enough to post their best daily performance since last year. That's the Buy Now, Pay Later company stock. Was up nearly 13% on the day. That made for its largest single-day percentage gain since December of last year, when it moved up about 16%. And now the latest news for you here on 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KABC. Some big commercial real estate deals lately. First of all, a big for sale sign going up at the so-called Graffiti Towers in the heart of downtown Los Angeles. The unfinished and bankrupt ocean-wide Plaza Tower complex in downtown Los Angeles. That big graffiti-filled eyesore now set for an auction sale later this year. A landmark property in Hollywood also going up for sale. And that is the former Charlie Chaplin Studios, where Jim Henson, the Muppet folks, are situated currently. And we've set a new record as far as home prices are concerned in Los Angeles County recently. $210 million sale in Malibu blows past the previous record that was set by Jay-Z and Beyonce, which was about $200 million. Let's get an update now on what's happening on the real estate scene here in Los Angeles. Jerry Sullivan joining me live now, National Managing Editor of The Real Deal, the authoritative commercial real estate site, former editor of the LA Business Journal and OC Business Journal. Jerry, thank you very much for coming to the line here this afternoon.
Well, it's my pleasure, Frank. Good to talk to you always.
Likewise, thank you very much. And, let's talk about James Gennard, right? That's the billionaire who's behind the iconic sunglasses and apparel brand, just unloaded his mansion there in Malibu at a hefty price, record-shattering price. Tell us about that.
Yes, indeed. Jim Gennard, probably best known or first known for Oakley, the sunglasses brand, which he sold to Luxottica in Italy 20 years ago for several $1 billion. And then he went on to start Red Digital, which made a big splash in Hollywood, supplying cameras to the trade, and had a studio in Hollywood. And so he's a serial entrepreneur, a billionaire several times over. And he just sold a home in Malibu for, I think it was $210 million, the most expensive sale in the state's history, surpassed, I think, Jay-Z and Beyonce had the previous record with a $200 million sale. And before that, about a year ago, was Mark Andreessen, the famous Silicon Valley venture capitalist, went about $177 million. And these are all in Malibu. So, but it looks like this latest sale is the topper at 210. And, stay tuned. We're working on some follow-up coverage that might reveal a little more about the buyer and the ultimate intention the buyer has for this property.
On the air live with Jerry Sullivan with The Real Deal. And now, was this place subject to the so-called mansion tax then? What a tax bill that would be here in this case.
Yeah, indeed. So that would probably came in around 11 million, somewhere around there, just the tax bill on this deal. So, or actually, I don't know if Malibu would be under the tax bill or not. I guess not. That's a city of LA. Malibu is actually outside city of LA. So maybe they skated on that, Frank.
Yeah. All right. We'll have to do some homework on that. And I know they were talking about possibly making it a countywide thing. So we have to keep our antenna up for that. And, of course, the commercial real estate folks still very upset about that so-called mansion tax. And turning now to the Graffiti Towers, you've been doing great coverage on this one. This is those three unfinished, originally Chinese-built towers there that have gone bankrupt. And now, of graffiti filled, and of course the subject of a lot of attention in recent months. Give us an update on what's ahead for that.
Yeah, our West Coast Bureau Chief Bella Farr broke the story last week that it was going to auction. So indeed, there is an auction set. It's got JLL has put a value of $434 million on it. I'm not exactly sure how that is figured. There's debt of about $400 million, or at least entities lined up to collect what they claim is $400 million they're owed. It leans against it. It looks like it'll take probably another $1 billion to finish the project. There's already $1.2 billion into it. So we'll see where it goes. I don't know that there's a minimum bid has been set. In talking to people in the industry, who knows? I mean, I've talked to some people who said it would have to be a negative basis. In other words, someone would have to give you money to take it over, just because there's either going to have to be so much work done or a demolition that'll be very costly. And, we just don't know at this point.
Yeah, it's been sitting there, for about 5 years, unfinished, open to the elements. Already some years ago, somebody prominent in the construction business told me that he thought it would have to be torn down because when you have a situation like that, it's too expensive to try to resume construction. And, of course, being exposed to the elements, so you have all kinds of issues that come up, mold and corrosion and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and the broker involved, one of the brokers involved, Mark Tarczynski of Colliers, has said, I believe he said publicly that it's it's sound from an engineering standpoint. And I've talked to developers who have said, no, there's no way, and it's going to have to be torn down. Or, they each have their perspective too. A developer would more likely be a bidder and might, have reason to talk it down a little, and of course, a broker might have reason to talk it up a little. So, you got to kind of take all that into consideration. I don't think we'll know until, the gavel falls, and we'll see what's what. But it's going to be a difficult project any way you look at it. And, Frank, it occurs to me, I don't know, it seems like it's unusual or maybe a change in the atmosphere in L.A., but you're not hearing any civic voices stepping up and viewing this as any sort of opportunity or even really sort of emergency. But it's a hell of a gap or sore point on the city skyline, and there doesn't seem to be that cast of civic characters very anxious to do anything about it.
Yeah. Excellent point. We're on the air live with Jerry Sullivan with The Real Deal, the authoritative commercial real estate site. And Jerry, what's happening in downtown Los Angeles overall? I've been hearing nightmarish distressed sales in New York, for example. Are we seeing similar situations here in the Los Angeles area for vacant office towers and coming off the pandemic with that slow return of no return to the offices here?
Yeah, I think what you're seeing, and you'll see it probably downtown LA is probably the clearest example, because several other areas, Century City, as you and I have discussed, is actually fairly strong, and there's some submarkets that are doing better. Downtown LA is struggling, and I think what you're seeing is that institutional buyers are walking away. So Brookfield, the big institutional players who have traditionally been investors, I think to some degree are walking away. And who steps in, we'll see. The prices are coming down. It does seem to be settling somewhere, well below $200 a square foot for Class A office space in downtown LA. In some cases, it seems like not much more than $100 a square foot. And that's for the better stuff. So, I think there's still a lot of sorting out to do downtown. And I would not expect downtown LA to ever hit full occupancy of what it had been. I think everyone ought to get used to an idea of there's probably a little too much built environment than what the city, downtown is going to need. And it's time to switch some over, convert some, maybe just demolish some, but I think things have to fundamentally change.
So people always ask, where are the bargains? It seems prices have come under pressure in downtown LA, and prices have actually probably come down with some of these places, given what's going on there.
Oh, they've come down a great deal. Now the question is, it's only a bargain if you can go get tenants. right? If you can fill the building and you get a good price, then it's a bargain. And if you can't, all the price cuts in the world won't help you. So, I mean, I think that's what downtown is going to have to figure out is how much is there to go around and at what price level is that going to settle in terms of lease rates and everything else.
Yeah. Of course, at The Real Deal, you do a great job with your real estate conferences. When's the next one coming up here, Jerry?
We have one set it's the LA Real Estate Forum. It's September 12th at the Beverly Wilshire. So, you're, as always, invited as a VIP, Frank, so we'll expect you there. And we look forward to a big crowd. We're already lining up some interesting panels and speakers. And so very much looking forward to seeing you and the rest of the real estate industry there in September.
That's great, Jerry. Well, thank you very much. Looking forward to see you here back in Beverly Hills. Jerry Sullivan, National Managing Editor of The Real Deal, which is the authoritative commercial real estate site. Jerry, of course, well known to the business audience here in Southern California as former editor of the LA Business Journal, also the Orange County Business Journal. Jerry, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Frank, and we'll talk again soon.
Yes, thank you very much. And out to the freeways now on 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KABC, turning to crime, a horrific clash of pro-Palestinian and worshipers at a temple in the Pico Robertson area over the weekend, getting a lot of attention. We've seen Mayor Karen Bass issue a statement today about what happened, and she said the violence there was abhorrent and blocking access to a place of worship is unacceptable. She's called on the LAPD to provide additional patrols in the Pico Robertson community as well as outside of houses of worship throughout the city. In all this, there were no arrests made during that situation in front of the temple there on Pico yesterday. We're also watching what's happening in Sacramento. Looks like the California State Assembly and California State Senate will be voting on about 14 crime bills, and they've amended these bills to make them automatically repealed and inoperable if the voter initiative to fix Prop 47 passes in November. Joining us live now, the Honorable Dennis Zine, former LA City Council member, longtime LAPD sergeant, current LAPD reserve officer with about 56 years of service to the City of Angels. Dennis Zine is on the line. Thank you very much for taking the call here.
You're welcome, Frank. A pleasure to be with you once again. And the horrendous stories continue in the city of Los Angeles. The situation in Pico Robertson, another situation totally out of control. We have our state legislators out of control when it comes to establishing laws to give the police the ability to protect people by establishing laws that are common sense and reasonable. So we have chaos taking place. It reminds me of Germany in 1938, the tragedies that happened in Germany in 1938. We see happening here in the City of the Angels, Pico Robertson, which is a heavily populated Jewish community, a lot of temples, places of worship, and you've got situations that take place that we saw years ago, and they're happening right now in our city, the City of the Angels, and you have a police department that is ill-equipped as far as personnel numbers go to combat this situation, whether it's at UCLA or SC or at the temples. We do not have enough personnel in the Los Angeles Police Department to police the city in an adequate fashion to make it safe for everyone. That is the real tragedy. And you've got council members that don't care about public safety in Los Angeles. You add this together, you've got exactly what happened at the temple at Pico and Robertson. This is a tragedy that can be stopped if you have government officials that care about safety and care about the taxpayers and care about people's right to worship in the faith that they believe. That's what we need. And we don't have that, Frank. And these situations continue over and over. It just continues to get worse than better.
On the line with Dennis Zine, it must be heartbreaking for you to give that assessment, given your love for the city and your service to the City of Angels, which we salute and applaud. And certainly the council is a lot different from when you served on it. And in all of these situations, wouldn't say all, but in most of them, no arrests. Again, in this situation here, what happened?
Well, Frank, we don't have enough personnel, especially on the weekends. What you have is personnel that work 12-hour shifts, uniformed personnel, 12-hour shifts. You work 3-day shifts, 3, 3, 3, 12, 12, 12. And then you've got some days off, and you just don't have enough adequate personnel to police the city, to police the metro lines, and all the tragedies. I rode the metro Friday night. I went to an event downtown on the metro, and I got back. I got a call from my son, who's a member of the LAPD. He says, "Dad, are you okay?" I said, yeah. I said, what happened? He said, there was a shooting. The man got shot on the Metro Friday night. I said, well, no, I'm okay, son. But this is the tragedies that we see every single day, us in law enforcement, and we have elected officials that aren't giving the police the personnel and the resources to do their job. This is a continuing saga, and I hope people realize the consequences and the exposure they have for themselves and their families. And you got Gascon, who doesn't believe in prosecution. You got the state legislature that's playing games with the laws that are currently on the books, trying to weaken them. They want to clean out the prisons. And what happens to the law-abiding taxpayers that just want to enjoy life and have a productive life? And that's why you see people over and over and over leave. They move. Where did Chief Mike Moore go when he retired from Los Angeles Police Department? Where did he go? Do you know where he went, Frank? Do you know what state he went to?
Only because he told me Nashville, Tennessee.
He went to Nashville, Tennessee. And if you look at how many officers have left, they want to be safe with their families. They want to live a comfortable life. And I respect Chief Moore. I know him personally. I can't blame him what he did because he wants to be safe with his family and his daughter. And this is the problem. You don't have elected officials in the state and in the city that really give a damn. And if they don't give a damn about them, then they're like giving a damn about the people who are paying the bills, paying the taxes, and living in fear, constantly living in fear.
You reminded me over the weekend, I went through Hollywood. There was somebody on the sidewalk, could have been dead or alive, we don't know, but just on the sidewalk, in the middle of the sidewalk, and nobody seemed to care, and just people walking by, and with the homeless situation worse than ever, it seems. We see Hollywood business owners are upset and frustrated after planters that were installed on Sunset Boulevard to keep homeless encampments from growing right in front of their business were ordered to be removed by the city. What's your reaction to this? Businesses trying to do whatever they can to prevent tents and encampments in front of their places, especially there in Hollywood, as you see right outside the Walk of Fame there at Gower and Hollywood Boulevard. You have a huge encampment in front of that auto dealership, which is absolutely heartbreaking. And now this business there that put up planters being ordered to take them away.
Frank, I saw that on the news. But this is how the city reacts. They don't react in a positive manner to protect the businesses. They're trying to protect those people who aren't part of civilized society, who are outcasts, who want to just do what they want to do, defecate in public, steal without any repercussions. This is the problem. You need elected officials in office that care about the victims, that care about the hardworking taxpayers. They need to show some empathy, some compassion for them. We don't see that. So the businesses put up barriers so they can protect their customers, protect their property. Then the city comes in and says, you must remove this, or no, or we're going to cite you, we're going to fine you. All they're trying to do is protect their businesses and their property. We see this happen over and over. I wish the elected officials would wake up and not let more and more people and businesses leave Los Angeles City. I'm a native of this city, and honestly, Frank, I've seen it deteriorate. It has not improved. When I was in council for 12 years, it wasn't to the degree it is now, and it's simply getting worse. And then you've got a council member that wants to have a monument for African Americans that have been killed at the hands of the police, whether it's a justified situation or not, wants to do a monument for that. What about the monument for the dead police officers and their families? What about that?
Yeah.
What does the council people think about that? It is really frustrating. It galls me every time I hear about this. But when I see Pico and Robertson, which I used to live in that area, this kind of tragedy for people who want to just go worship, this is a tragedy that can't continue. But it will continue with the elected officials we have in council in the city of Los Angeles at this time. And I commend Karen Bass, but she's only one person. She needs the council to work with her, and the people need the council to work with the police so we can make it safe, plain and simple.
On the line with Dennis Zine, the Honorable Dennis Zine, former LA City Council member, longtime LAPD Sergeant, current LAPD Reserve Officer. Dennis Zine, thank you very much for coming to the line.
Thank you, Frank.
Coming up next, the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang. Then I'll be back with more at 4 tomorrow here on Mottek On Money, 790 KBC.
America starts the day with America in the Morning.
Pending home sales numbers, they tanked in April, but there
Hi,
are
I'm John Trout, your host for the latest news, politics, entertainment, business, and weather.
High-octane action in the dust, a new film puts...
Our staff of correspondents provide a fast-paced look at the world with specialized reports from where news happens.
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Amazon.
Concise, accurate, and fresh each day.
America in the Morning, the podcast, available wherever you listen.